are,
Hi,
yes.
guys. Okay, we're live. Hi, guys. Great to have you here today. Michael Sanders, co-founder and chief storyteller at Sequence, and Santiago Gramajo, Xerial, now Sequence, co-founder of Xerial, and now joining Sequence as a BD manager. And we'll dive into that a little bit more and explore how this has happened. Just to give a brief introduction as to why we wanted to do this call with you guys today. Obviously, BGA, as one of its core missions, is to bring projects together to help them to collaborate and gain visibility. And this is an awesome collaboration. So one, it's great for us to be able to highlight the wins of the BGA, but also the wins of our members, and for you guys as a win to be able to come together and grow not only your own projects, but the Web3 gaming ecosystem overall. So maybe we could just start with a quick introduction from each of you, and then we can take
Santiago, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm Santiago Gramajo. I'm from Argentina. I started building Xerial, like a little competitor in that moment of Sequence with my brothers. We are triplets. I only started with one. And yeah, now I am working here on Sequence, trying to really help, try to scale to growth all the people that is working with us. So yeah, a pleasure to be here and very helpful that now I am here on Sequence with all these incredible people, including Michael. So yeah, it's really a pleasure to me to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Santiago. Yeah, my name's Michael Sanders. I'm one of the co-founders at Sequence. We started the company about 7 years ago, and it's all about enabling this next generation of games. So Sequence is the leading all-in-one development platform for integrating Web3 into games. And I've personally been in the blockchain space for 14 years now, since hearing about Bitcoin in 2010. And then I met Vitalik Buterin about a year before Ethereum's launch. And that's when I fell in love with this notion of really Web3, right? This next generation of the internet where users and creators share in the value of the ecosystems they participate in. You can have new kinds of applications, new kinds of games, and just new kinds of experiences where everyone really benefits. So we're all about enabling that.
Awesome. So maybe we can just start a little bit from where this kind of collaboration started at GDC this year. And I don't know who would like to kick off this conversation and just share a little bit about how you guys initially met and where that took you.
Sure. So I'll share from my perspective first, and then Santiago can chime in. Our CTO at Sequence, Talon, told me he met these two amazing guys named Santiago and Facundo, part of a company called Xerial, and he was really excited. He told me that night, he said he met them at the BGA booth at GDC, Game Developers Conference in San Francisco in March. And so Talon was super excited. Talon's brilliant, so I trust his judgment. The next day, I went over to the BGA booth and I met Santiago and Facundo. They were showcasing some of the games that they were working with. And I was captivated by both of their energy, both Facu and Santiago. And it was clear that like we shared a very similar passion and mission. And yeah, that was the birth of our relationship, and it's obviously evolved a tremendous deal since then. And we can dive into that, but I'll let Santiago share from his perspective too.
Yes, no, 100% was like this, like Michael mentioned, and I have like already know about Sequence like for about a year, more or less. And I remember seeing in the stand there at the BGA booth, and I approached because I want to ask some question. I always see like they are the top tier platform that was building there. So I approached because yeah, to start talking a little bit. And that person studying there was Thailand, but like I should say, he was like the CTO here on Sequence. So nothing. What I most like about that conversation was that I felt like we were like 100% aligned on the vision of the future of the industry, as Michael mentioned. So we take a photo, we exchange some telegrams, which is very common here in the space. And just to give some context, Mel, I remember when we was here in Xerial, all the times we sent our developers to Sequence to like getting deep on the documentation, all that stuff, because we don't have too much budget. So we say like, hey, let's go there and like really take all the features that these guys are taking, because for us, like they always want like one step ahead. So yeah, we like really focus on like what are the things that we have to build and put all our resources there. And some interesting thing is when we finish this like little conversation with Thailand, I go out and I say to Faku, to my co-founder, like, hey, I think that we are going to merge with Sequence. And he's saying like, you are crazy. We just talked like 5 minutes from there, but I think like there like was something so special with Thailand, how we really share this vision. So yeah, I say that to Faku, and Faku don't believe me.
Yeah, and actually Talon had told me that day too. He had said, I think we should maybe merge with Xerial. And so we both had that, like within their first meeting, the idea was already incepted.
Yes, yes. And I remember I text Thailand because on Friday we was there as well on the BGA booth. And I said like, hey, why don't come with the Sequence team members and you see a little bit of what we are building, all our clients and all that stuff. And I remember that there, yes, I met Michael first time. And we spent like 20 minutes talking. And it was like really, really great.
That's awesome, and it's a really cool story. And I know that we didn't actually find out about this until Flav, our director of global development, was at Gamescom Latam, and I think you casually mentioned that, hey, we're merging with Sequence, and we were super excited about it because it's true that sometimes we don't hear about these collaborations and these wins until much later on down the line. So that is really awesome. And so maybe you can like tell us a little bit about, you've mentioned a little bit about how you guys connected and so forth, but how did this partnership take place, and why did it make sense for you guys to merge?
Yeah, so I think it was the very next week we set up a Google Meets call, and it was Facu, Santiago, I think Talon was on it as well, and Peter. And it was our initial call. Just, Peter hadn't met them yet, who's our CEO, and he really wanted to meet them, of course, given everyone else's enthusiasm. And from those very first conversations, again, we recognized the shared vision. And we were both obsessed about serving game developers with everything they need to succeed in Web3. We were talking about how can we help game developers create better player experiences, new gaming opportunities, drive acquisition, retention, monetization, and how can we succeed as an infrastructure provider in this business? And so it was just like, it was perfect synergy. And we also realized that Xerial was the leading blockchain infrastructure provider in Latin America. And Sequence at the time was the leading blockchain infrastructure provider globally. And it seemed obvious to both of us, like we should come together and then just serve game developers all around the world and, win the market and serve the market together. So yeah, I think that's kind of what led to it. And Santiago, if you want to share anything else, go for it.
Yes, 100%. From day one, we always know that building blockchain gaming infrastructure is like we were shaping the future. And what I mean by this is we are laying the foundation where future players and builders will live, consume, and develop from here to short, long term. So from the very beginning, we understand that to achieve this, we need to collaborate with the best people that help us to define how this emerging and highly experimental market will evolve. And in Xerial, in that moment, as Michael said, we won one of the fastest growing there in Latin America. So we get to a point where we were growing faster than our product can handle. So we started exploring into the market and try to find some company or some infrastructure that made the most sense for us to collaborate, that will accelerate the adoption of the space. So yeah, that's a little bit. And when we made Sequence, for me was makes sense for the really for the beginning. When we started talking, Michael, really get involved in this. We know that we want to build the future together, because today we really believe that Sequence is the best product outside there on the market, and it's supported by that really high talented team. So yeah, we were so aligned that I said hey, for me this makes a ton of sense. And when I speak all this, it's not only me, it's not Facu as well. We talk a lot about this. And I remember that we spent more or less 3 months, I think, talking to each other with Michael. So it's not something okay, we leave the conference and all that, and it's oh, this is a hype, we have to merge or whatever. It's not that we really get involved, we really know each other and say hey, this really makes sense, because we are so aligned on what we think is going to be the future. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting that not only were their synergies, but actually the environment was really ripe for you guys to come together. And I'm also really interested in the fact that you guys also have merged on regions as well, but maybe we can touch on that in a minute. But really curious to find out about what you guys are working on at the moment together and what that looks like.
Yeah, great question. If you want, Michael, I can jump on this one first. Like our priority was always being like to acquire new game partners and help them to grow and scale with us. All these game developers that are building today with Sequence are solid teams aiming to create something like really long term, not short term. And I want to take some moment to talk about three games in particular that I am like really supporting. I'm personally super excited about. That is Timefront, Alternates, and Domination. I don't know how much I can talk because they have the marketing strategy and all that. But I want to go to the point that I believe that they perfectly understand why blockchain makes sense within like these games and how they are building everything with the goal of providing more benefits to the gamers and future players that are going to start getting on board on these games, like with all the infrastructure of Sequence. So today we are working very hard on trying to understand each of our partners and know that the technology alone is not enough sometimes. That's why we support, like in the go-to-market strategy, introducing to all our ecosystem, chain partners, investor, provide access to maybe to game communities, because at the end of the days, all these games are a business. They have a product. So we need to like send gamers so they can like iterate the product, improve the product, and all that stuff, because creating a very good game take a lot of time. So we want to be like really like very hands-on partners with all these games. For us, these games are not just a number. You know, we want to really get involved with these games and try to scale and go like to the next level.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Santiago. And Melanie, to your point, just about regions. Yeah, we serve games in North America, Europe, the Middle East, Asia Pacific, LATAM. Of course, that's where Santiago and Facundo have a lot, but they're serving games across the world too, not just LATAM, but they had a lot of partners from LATAM, really expanded in that region. So it's really like we support games no matter where they are. And we're fortunate that we have different language speakers across the team. So it's very helpful, you know, when dealing with game developers who might speak a language other than English. So yeah, we've really expanded the global presence. And I can just talk a little bit about our roadmap and how Sequence is working, because now that Santiago and Facundo have come into our organization, they bring a tremendous amount of insight based on the game developers they've worked with, in addition to the game developers that we've worked with. And of course, we're always trying to respond to and anticipate our game developers' needs, so that ultimately we can help them drive acquisition, drive retention, and drive monetization while delivering amazing player experiences. So Sequence, I mentioned earlier, it's this all-in-one developer platform. So it's a full stack of tools, everything game devs need to build in Web3, and that's from wallets and accounts, marketplaces and payments, blockchain data and analytics, and then SDKs for Unity, Unreal Engine, mobile, really wherever you're building. And then, you know, there's the stack, and then there are solutions for acquisition, retention, and monetization, in addition to things like go-to-market support that Santiago is speaking to, which of course feeds into acquisition, monetization, and retention as well. And so we've done the best job we can to make Sequence tools as accessible and easy to work with as possible. Seamlessness and security are pillars of our organization. And of course, we're always improving, you know, like nothing's perfect, and we keep iterating, we keep listening to the customers and their players so that we can make it even better. And we support every EVM chain, whether it's layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, it doesn't matter where you're building. If it's on Arbitrum or Scale or Xi or Polygon, wherever, you can use Sequence, and we've got you covered and supported. And yeah, now we're powering hundreds of games, thousands of developers, millions of players. And this ranges from, you know, like I'll just highlight a few games. So we're powering a big IP, Captain Laserhawk, which is a Ubisoft game. And Captain Laserhawk is also a Netflix series. And it's this transmedia experience where players have a lot of influence over the future of the game. So that's really exciting. And then Ubisoft's also making another game called Champions Tactics that's powered by Sequence. So those are a couple of the big ones. We also have a La Liga fantasy sports game that's built by Game On. La Liga is one of the biggest soccer leagues in the world. Santiago is a huge football and soccer fan, so I know that's like, you know, music to his ears. And then we also, you know, Santiago mentioned a few indie games that we're working with, like Timefront, Domination. We're working with other games like Sheertopia. and hundreds more in total, and we'll be announcing more of those to come. And so yeah, we're always just trying to help games and evolve our product stack. And as an example, we have the Sequence embedded wallets, which are really the most seamless way to welcome players into a Web3 game. And in fact, they're the only verified solutions on each the Unity store and the Unreal Engine asset store. So that they have the stamp of approval from gaming's leading engines. And additionally, we've just also enabled something called guest wallets so that players don't actually need to create a wallet to play a game. They can just start playing, and then once they've progressed far enough, then you get prompted to create a wallet, right? So and that was a request from game developers. So we're just always thinking about like, how can we make this better for gamers, eliminate the friction, and enable awesome player experiences. And so, for anyone that wants to get started, you go to sequence.xyz. Also, like, sign up for our newsletter. You can get exclusive rewards, sign up for our socials, and stay in touch. And yeah, we just want to help game developers win.
100%. That's why we joined into Sequence.
Yeah, I mean, I had some questions about that, but it's really like clear why you guys have merged and come together. So, but I just wanted to ask a couple of questions based on what you were just talking about, Michael, in terms of creating a really seamless experience. And I'm going a little bit off script here, but how are you seeing Web2 games being able to leverage your technology and integrate that? And is it making it easier for them to come into the Web3 space?
Yeah, definitely. So overall, if you just look at Web3 gaming in and of itself, it's a small market compared to the broader Web2 gaming market, right? Like Web2 gaming is over 200 billion. Web3 gaming is, somewhere probably between 2 and 8 billion, but significantly smaller. And so we've built this comprehensive Web3 developer platform. And so there are a lot of Web3 native game devs working with our stack. In addition to that, we're seeing more and more traditional game developers coming from successful Web2 experiences, Web2 games, leading Web2 companies who see an opportunity with Web3, because there are universal challenges that game developers face, whether they're in Web2 or Web3, right? Like, development costs are on the rise. User acquisition costs have increased 431% since 2019. So this means that more than 70% of games are unprofitable, and that number is actually increasing because it's becoming more difficult to actually bring users into your game. And what's really cool about Web3 is that we can uniquely leverage the technology to solve some of these developer problems around acquisition, retention, and monetization. So it becomes less about, hey, you got to come use Web3 technology, and it becomes more about, you can bring more players into the game, you can serve them better and retain them better, and you can drive more revenue to your organization, while at the same time giving players the benefits of ownership, new gameplay experiences, new kinds of economy, new forms of participation. So it's really this win-win. And of course, not every Web2 game developer is aware of this yet or realizes it. So it's an education process. And we're focused on serving the partners we have now, whether they're Web3 native or they come from traditional gaming. And then we create more success stories out of it. Those games succeed, they go into the market, and then more and more Web2 game developers see that success, and they're like, we want to do the same thing, or we want to do something similar, and then we grow the market that way together.
I don't know if you want to add anything on that.
Yes, 100%. Like, what Michael says is, like, today we are building this infrastructure like hand to hand with all these like game developers, when we really understand like what they want to build. Today they are looking for Web2 users, Web3 users, because there is the massive audience. So today we are providing all this infrastructure that is like very straightforward. All these game developers can jump and start building with Sequence all this like complex technology that is the blockchain in a matter of days, with tools, no code, connecting to our APIs and all that stuff. And again, I want to go back a little bit when I say that sometimes it's not like enough only the technology, and that's why like today we are partnered with the biggest communities outside there into Latin America, because we really want to showcase all these games that today are working with us, and bringing more gamers inside into the space, because I think that is going to start from the bottom line. All these indie studios are going to start pushing all this experience that like are really insane. I jump into the space because I am a gamer. And when I start linking all these, like, oh, this like really makes sense. I provide a lot of value to the final user, to all of us. So I think that all these industries are going to start pushing this experience, and we are going to start seeing a lot of adoption of maybe big players. Now Ubisoft is taking 2 games with Sequence into a blockchain. So I think that are very interesting years coming along, and we are here trying to build the future with all these games and really understand what are the main pains, because it's a very experimental market. It's nothing like guarantee outside there. So we are really trying to build this infrastructure, talking a lot with our customers outside there, and like iterate all the time our products. And it's very seamless. Today I talk with games that they can connect through all our technology in 1 week, and they start onboarding Web2 users that maybe are these users that never interact with a blockchain, I don't know, wallet or whatever. It's like so simple. And like touching the last thing here in Latin America, for example, today we in Latin has like not two strong currencies. So this brings a lot of alternatives to all these game developers, where the gamers and the people can consume, can play, can do all that stuff in a better way. Where again, like the user is here, like who benefits from all this technology, and of course the developers. They have new avenues of monetizations. There is more easy to retain, to acquire new customers. So it's so interesting. That's why we bet here. We are like betting in the future, if you want, with our business thesis, because they make a lot of sense. And again, I want to repeat, like being here with Michael, with the Sequence people, I think that is the right person to build the future, because it's so difficult inside sometimes. But I think that we are really on the path, and we are trying to follow a lot of games. In this last month, or I think that 2 or 3 months, we signed like I don't know how many games that today are choosing Sequence. Not only because of our technology, because we are really like hands-on partners with all these partners, and we try to leverage from our experience what blockchain works, what not works, and all that stuff. So yeah, it's incredible to be building this here.
Yeah, and just to give kudos to Santiago and Facundo, I think it was in their first 6 weeks, they signed 40 games or like 42 games to Sequence. They jumped into our company, and like the transition was so seamless. I was thinking like, okay, they're gonna have to onboard. It's gonna take some time for them to learn things. And I think they send me a contract on day 3, and then like another one on day 4. And then like, I remember I came back on a Monday and they had sent like 8 contracts or something over the weekend. I was like, okay, this is working pretty well. So they jumped right in and just, you know, because we just had such an aligned vision. And then so they saw our tech stack and they're like, great, we can serve this to game developers that we know. So it's been amazing. Yeah, since day 1 that they joined.
Love it. And yeah, that's what I was going to say. I guess that's the beauty of being in such alignment as well, is that it makes it such a seamless transition. Also, there's a few things that you guys have mentioned there that I want to touch on. Michael, you mentioned education, and I want to ask you how you see that education piece for developers, or is it a matter of time and then seeing more and more successful kind of use cases in the Web3 gaming space?
It's both. I mean, I think the use cases are the most powerful, right? Like the proof is in the pudding. If you give game developers evidence that this is working, this is driving more retention, more monetization, there are more players, the game's better, then they're going to flock to it. And because it's just the advantages are obvious. But, you know, you have to do things to get to the use cases first, right? So that requires a lot of education. And that's through things like, I mean, a lot of BD outreach, you know, like Santiago, Facundo, the rest of our business development and partnerships team, they're just having a lot of conversations, whether it's going to conferences or just reaching out to folks, reaching out to the BGA's network, and just talking with games to understand where they need help. And then if it makes sense, then we're there to support them. In addition to content marketing and community initiatives, all of these things play a role in just, you know, expressing the advantages and the opportunities that exist with building it with something like Sequence.
Awesome. And how are you seeing the differences of adoption across different regions, from LATAM over to Asia, for example, and in between?
Yeah, Santiago, do you want to start? I can chime in after. You're having so many conversations. You might have better insight.
Yes, 100%. Here in Latin America, I think that the adoption is a little bit more slow, but because in general, all these like innovation and new technologies like arrive later into the space here in Latin America. But all the feedback when we go there, for example, to the BGA, to the conference on Brazil, was like us from there. We start talking with all these games that maybe they don't know what is the blockchain or why they have to use it and all that stuff, but they are make a lot of sense to start getting involved into the blockchain. But again, I think that when we go, for example, with San Francisco to this Europe and all that stuff, is like a lot more adoption. Like the people really understand more about what is going on the blockchain and why this makes sense. In Latin America is very like early yet. So we have to put a lot of effort to educate all these people, like why to jump into this space and start building with the blockchain technology. That's why. But for example, now we are talking with these large communities of Latin America, the biggest like esports teams, for example, and they say like, hey, I want to jump into the Web3 and I want to bring games from the rest of the world here in Latam to start like showing all this experience, what they can do, like with a wallet, with whatever, because again, do a ton of sense. So I think that we are going to start seeing a lot of adoption here in Latin America. I have recently like conversations with very big companies that are building games, and they are so interesting. So I think that it's a matter of time to put this blockchain behind the games with a very friendly experience. Again, like Web2 experience. Nobody's going to know that they are interacting with a blockchain, NFTs or whatever. If not, it's like, okay, this makes sense to put behind my game. And here is sequence. We have all this infrastructure, so the games can go to the markets in a very quick way. So yeah, this is my feelings here.
Yeah, and just to add, yeah, we have game devs from all over the world using it. I do think the US remains the #1. We have the most gaming partners from the US, but it's pretty spread across the world. And increasingly now that we have more of a BD presence in Asia, we're signing more partners from Asia Pacific. And as Santiago's talking about LATAM, they're bringing on lots of partners from LATAM. We have partners in Europe. So it really is across the board where we're seeing, partners.
Great. And also you mentioned the transition period internally for yourselves, but I also wonder what that looked like for companies that were coming from Xerial, for example, and going through that transition period.
Yeah, that was like so simple because the documentation of sequence is incredible. When we was in Xerial, we just was like 10, no, less, like 8 people on the team. So we really have to think where to put our time. And we have to deliver a lot of things because we have 20 customers that are paying like monthly and all that stuff. So that when we jump into sequence, we find that the developers come and say like, hey, this is so friendly, so intuitive to do all the connections, to create my wallet, an NFT, a marketplace. And they launch like the complete blockchain infrastructure in a matter of days, not more months or whatever. It's like really accelerate all this. Because today, maybe now no, but if you go like 2 years or 1 year from now, like getting involved into the blockchain was so difficult. You have to develop all your smart contracts, develop your wallet from scratch with all the compliance things like cover and all that. And today with sequence, with this straightforward documentation, you can have all covered and develop all this in 1 month. With all this team that is here like 5 years from now, like with all the networking, knowing all the people, all the chains, so we really accelerate not only the technology, because today the market demands a little bit more. So we provide all this technology, but then we like really onboard these customers and try to scale the game. Because like customer success for sequence is our success. You know, we go like really long term with the games. So we really try to cover every aspect, not only on the technology. And what's so simple to onboarding with sequence. Michael, Peter, Philippe, all the people on product, I already send all these tools. It's like, hey, the developers really get involved in 1 week. They develop everything in 1 week. So yeah, and I think that we are going to continue improving all the time and doing this like more simple, taking more features, like really. So I think that the future is so excited. And the people building this is again, so I think that is a very good candidate to really deliver all the massive onboarding of the Web2 game developers and gamers into this place.
Awesome. Anything you want to add, Michael, to that, or to anything else that we've mentioned, or both of you, if there's anything that you guys want to add?
I mean, I'll just echo what Santiago said, that our partner success is our success. Like, we don't win unless we help our game developers, you know, like we earn revenue when our game partners succeed. Our incentives are aligned. So we are just obsessed with giving them the best tools possible and the best solutions so that they can succeed. And like Santiago mentioned, just really lowering the access barriers and giving them a seamless developer experience, proper documentation. We're improving our tutorials. They're already pretty good, but we're just making them even better. More video content, more written content, depending on how developers want to interact with our tools. We have a very seamless low-code dashboard called Sequence Builder that allows you to work with our entire stack. And it's pretty intuitive. Like, I'm not a developer and I can spin up a marketplace in 30 seconds, just like clicking. And anyone with no coding experience can do that. And you can use the boilerplates to integrate wallets. And so, yeah, like we've made it pretty easy, and as Santiago mentioned, we're just going to keep making it better. And we just see like there's so much potential to elevate gaming as a whole and elevate Web3 gaming. As I've mentioned, I keep banging the drum of like, we're helping game developers with acquisition, retention, and monetization, because that's what they care about and that's what we care about, and then making games even more awesome. And so we've already seen some games have metrics like 4 times improvement on day 30 retention, 7 times improvement on average revenue per user. So like, and that's by integrating Sequence into their game. And this is comparing it, like they had a Web 2 game and now they have a Web 3 game, and they're achieving these metrics, So there really is an opportunity. And of course, that's not to say every single game like integrates Web 3 and boom, it's a success, but there are these evidence points and there's so much opportunity to explore and drive these results. So we're just really excited. And as I mentioned, like, yeah, Web3 gaming industry is kind of small today, but eventually I don't think we're going to have any distinction between Web3 and Web2 gaming. I don't actually believe that Web3 gaming will be a category long-term. I believe that Web3 is a technology that elevates gaming. And just in the future, there's gaming and a lot of games will have Web3 integrated into it.
100% agree on this.
Yeah, and I guess that's what, as an industry, we're working towards, is to take away the Web3 and just create great games that are easy for players to access without them having to deal with all the complexities that the technology brings. Awesome. I know that you guys are going to be at some upcoming events, so maybe you can mention those.
Sure, Santiago, you want to go for it?
Yes, now we are going to be on the AVAX Summit. There we have some customers that are going to be there, so we always catch up. Then as well, we are going to the EVA. It's here in Argentina, very popular, with a lot of indie developers go there to maybe share like the passion, receive feedback from the product they are building. We are going to be there assisting, like telling about this blockchain thing, what is, how they can start building in Xerial, in Sequence for day one. In a very simple way. So yeah, very excited to go there and see what the people is building here in Argentina, because it's a lot of talent. And I think that today, because all these new technologies is so simple to globalize, and Sequence want to be part of this. So yeah, I think that I am going to these 2 events.
Yeah,
the next month.
Sorry, go for it.
And yeah, our president and COO, Greg, and our CEO, Peter, right now are at the Bitcraft Summit in San Francisco. And then our head of strategy and partnership, Sam, will be at Games Beat Next in San Francisco. That's October 28th and 29th, in addition to those events that Santiago mentioned. And then I'm sure more and more events, I'm not fully aware of all the events that our BD team is going, like Issei on our team and Carl. And we'll certainly be at GDC in March. Where we met at the BGA booth. Yeah, so we're always, we're always at events, and love just meeting people in person, because it's nice to meet people virtually, but there's something special about connecting face to face as well.
100%. Translate a lot of time, like on knowing all these people, these partners, whatever, and know all, like these clients on game that are working with you, and you all the time are like here between the screen. It's awesome to go there to the conference.
Yeah, and I guess without the conferences, this collaboration might not have happened, or might not have happened so soon, right?
100%.
Yeah, we're really grateful for the BGA, because Sequence has been a member of the BGA, and our parent company Horizon. Like, we've been I think, I don't know, since its origin, I don't know if you guys started in 2018 or 19, but we've been part of it the whole time, and it's been a wonderful group to be a part of, and we work with a lot of the different games in the BGA, and so yeah, it seemed very, you know, serendipitous and wonderful that it was your booth that brought Santiago, Facundo, Xerial, and we should also mention, like, there's other people on Xerial's team who joined us, like Thomas and Richard, I think I'm missing someone, Santiago.
Yes,
oh yeah, Ignacio. And like, they've been amazing additions to our dev team, and just like have great insight into how we're building and are elevating our platform and are helping our partners integrate. So yeah, just grateful for the BGA for, you know, enabling that initial conversation.
Yes, and just to add here, like in the BGA, like for us, like founders with Facu was so helpful to go in there. I remember you say like, hey, come to our booth, expose Xerial, show what you are doing, real clients. And there, yes, Michael and Thailand come to us and see everything. And sometimes you be like a founder, you're like alone in all this like path. So going to like be part of the BGA, you know, a lot of people, do a lot of networking, people that are in the same on you, maybe building product, launching an MVP or whatever, thinking about starting a business. So you receive a lot of feedback. It's so great to hear. A lot of builders, all the people that is like really bull on all this that is happening on the blockchain. So I find too much value there.
Love it. Thank you. Yes, so I mean, for BGA, we're doing much more in LATAM at the moment. We're starting to kind of ramp up our activities in LATAM. So I think you're joining us at the booth at Expo Eva. So we look forward to having you guys there. And just to say, if there's anything else that you guys want to mention before we wrap up the call, it's been a pleasure talking to you both, and also I can feel the enthusiasm, and it's awesome.
Yeah, just thank you everyone, and thank you Melanie, and thank you Santiago, and for anyone that wants to learn more and start building, go to sequence.xyz. Again, sign up for our newsletter, follow us on social so you can stay up to date, and we have exclusive rewards too, whether it's like whitelists from different games or collectibles from games, in addition to other opportunities like even Sequence services that you could potentially win. So yeah, just go to sequence.xyz.
Yes, and just to add here, if you want to be part of the better technology, blockchain infrastructure, whatever, reach out to us. We are here like really to help, to try to leverage all these game developers that are looking for a new home, new partners. Maybe they don't know where to start. They can reach us to us, and we can really help on everything, like really how to build, what is the blockchain, all that. We are here to help. So yeah.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you both for taking the time to have this chat today. Look forward to seeing you somewhere soon. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Please. Thanks both for the time. Okay. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.